You know, they're selling y'all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I back. Trust me, I back.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
Ele deu nothing. Ele deu nothing. Shut your fucking mouth. Ele deu nothing. Ele deu fucking nothing. Now what is ele deu nothing?
I'll tell you what, bro. You know, I was out there. I was fighting all the hitters, bro. You ain't fought no hitters.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I would kill you.
John, do you think? John, do you think I'm just gonna sit there and let you kill me, John? I mean, really?
No, don't be scared, homie.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants.
I am gonna beat you into the living death. I mean, maybe that's your job, but where I come from, you know, people like that get slapped.
That's fucking illegal.
Nietes, you just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is a simulated death match. And you haven't simulated anybody's death yet.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
What is the game plan going in against him?
The game plan is you go in there, hit him with some good shit, don't get hit, and come home with a pocket full of cash.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up? What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of the show live on YouTube and obviously in podcast form, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, etc. It's Matt, the Hipster Hunter. Smash the like button, share the show, subscribe. If you listen on podcast form, drop that 5-star review on iTunes and write out that review. And obviously call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue for international. Email me, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com to get a free international and permanent call-in link. And obviously, it is a preview day. It's Wednesday. It's the day after Christmas. Hope everyone had a great holiday. We're going to cover, obviously, the Japanese New Year's Eve tradition of just a ton of combat sports. We have RIZIN 14, obviously with Mayweather versus Tenshin Nasukawa, that exhibition fight happening on Monday for us in the U.S. And obviously we have two pretty decent, pretty massive Japanese boxing cards as well in Japan. Of course, UFC 232, John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson 2, and Chris Cyborg versus Amanda Nunes. A ton of great action this weekend. Shout out to Unemployed Mario Amasaki, PED, and Real Nige Chick in the chat. Nige just saying, I am very feel tonight.
I am Phil. I'm very Phil.
Yes. Obviously, call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. And like I said, international, email me. All the info is below in the description or on the screen. But to digress, let's get to the fights, the news of the day. We're going to cover boxing first and then go into MMA and the UFC event and topics of the day as well. So if you want to call in at any time, discuss any of the news, fights, whatever, do so. There's going to be no set time for when we take callers. So Gary, I see you in the chat. I know you are a habitual caller. So at any point, Gary, feel free to call in. No problem. But let's get to the fights because there are some really good fights that we have to get to. And I'll be honest, there are fights that I wish I could bring on someone that knows the lighter weight classes in Japanese boxing a little bit more than myself, even though I would say I know decent bit. But these guys, how talented some of these boxers are, I wish I had the expertise to really put into words how great like a guy like Shiro is, who we're going to talk about. It was absolutely fantastic, and what he's done to a guy like Milan Melendo is just out of this world, to be honest. Masayuki Iota, who obviously just beat Christopher Diaz in a huge upset. Him fighting on a headliner as well. That card will be on ESPN Plus. Gary saying, let's talk some MMA. What? Gary wants to talk MMA? He says, I am stocked. I'm assuming he meant stoked, but maybe stocked. I don't know. Stocked of what? Who knows with Gary? But digressing. Let's get to the card itself. Masayuki, Iota versus Evgeny, Chuprakov. A fight that I think, mainly due to Evgeny not really being the most well-known undefeated boxer out there, but he is undefeated. He is a guy that has some talent, has some amateur pedigree to back it. But we've seen sort of a recent trend of these undefeated Eastern European or Russian amateurs, undefeated pros, be thrown into fights which it may be too early for. I think this one might be that. Iota is definitely a skilled boxer, brutal body puncher as well. Great jab, great fundamentals. He's definitely a guy that I think could A, outbox Evgeny, or B, completely destroy him if he wanted to. Like if he wanted to press the action, get in the inside and rough him up, he absolutely can. That should not be an issue. But it should be a fun fight as long as it lasts. I'm saying 8th to 10th round TKO for Masayuki. I think it should be a pretty dominant and exciting performance because Masayuki usually puts on exciting fights. Shiro in the co-main event, undefeated against Saul, Juarez. This is probably the worst fight of them of the whole weekend, other than maybe the Mayweather Tenshin fight, which we'll get to. Mainly just due to how great Shiro is. Shiro is a guy that at 14-0 is up there with Inoue. Is up there with Koze Tanaka or Shokamura, like up there with those guys of just being absolutely fantastic at what they do. Definitely on that level of prodigy in a sense. And Juarez just really has nothing to beat him. And on top of that, every time Juarez has stepped up at this level, he's lost. And he usually loses by decision. He's a tough guy. I don't think Shiro's going to come out here and beat him as devastatingly and as dominantly as he did against Melendo. But definitely should be a dominant performance in a 12-round decision, like the Lopez fight he had, I think, before the Melendo fight. Again, Shiro should win this one pretty devastatingly and quick. I'm saying 6-round KO. Next, Inoue's little brother, Takumi Inoue, versus Tasane Salapet. Both undefeated guys. Tasane is 48-0. I've never heard of him, I'll be completely honest. Definitely going to be an interesting fight for a young, undefeated Inoue, who is definitely 100% beneath the shadow of his older brother. But this card alone on ESPN Plus, I can't wait to see, because you have, again, Inoue on the card, so it should be interesting to see. And on top of that, Shiro is a prodigy that everyone should be definitely paying attention to. Moving on from that, a card that we will not get access to in the U.S. You're going to have to sort of find your way around the stream, so to speak. It shouldn't be that hard, though, because Japanese boxing usually is easier to find, more so than others. But Donnie Nietes versus Kazuto Ioka. A fight that definitely should be all action. Could definitely steal Fight of the Year contendership at the very tail end of the year. And a fight that I've sort of been hesitant to pick. I think Donnie Nietes should win this one. But coming off the draw, I'm hesitant to pick him. Ioka's only lost to Amnat Renueg, and that's not a bad loss at all. So this is definitely going to be an interesting fight, not only on paper, but like who sort of steals the momentum from the other. Nietes has been on a run as of late beside that draw, so it should be interesting to see. I think Nietes should be able to win on the inside. He should be able to dictate the pace. I think Ioka is going to be always second in the combinations, always second in the action, and Nietes will just be able to put it on and be able to win enough rounds, and it's going to be a 12-round war, and I think Nietes should win 7 or 8 rounds and win this fight. Moving on from that, Hekkie Budler versus Hiroto Kyoguchi. I'm really excited for this one. Hekkie Budler is one of those guys that has always put on Fight of the Year contenders who we never talk about. And win or lose, he's always in the fight. On top of that, him just beating Taguchi, going into Kyoguchi, I think should be an interesting matchup. Hiroto is undefeated. Definitely on, I should say this. If he beats Hekkie Budler, we now talk about him with the Tanaka, with the Inoue, and with Shokimura, with others, with Kenshiro, with other sort of prodigies in a sense. And if Hekkie Budler wins this, it's just another sign that he's just this wily veteran that at any night could beat anyone, and is just a fantastic all-action fighter that should get talked about more. I remember his last fight, he only got paid like $20,000, like $30,000. It was just absolutely sad for the level of fighter Hekkie Budler is. But anyways, digressing from that, shout out to UK Rob in the chat saying, I'm here, just not on the show tonight, driving home. Oh, I know, it's sad. We miss you. We miss you. Moving on from that, getting to some news topics of the day in the boxing world. Adrian Broner. Let's get the sad music out for this guy, man. So sad. Look, and it's the day after Christmas, Broner. Like, come on. It's the day after Christmas. Can I take the day off? Really? Really? Adrian Broner arrested in Florida due to outstanding warrant. I believe it was due to traffic violations or traffic offenses, so speeding tickets, etc. Those piled up. He had a warrant out for him. He was arrested. He was already out of jail, so to speak. Anyways, this is just, I don't even know really what to like make of this, because it's Adrian Broner, another arrest, another trouble with the law moment, and he has a big fight with Manny Pacquiao coming up, and Broner has looked out of shape coming into this camp. Has looked definitely a guy. Wait, Gary, is that really CP Freshmart? No, that's not CP Freshmart. Hold on. That might be another CP Freshmart, because there's Knockout CP Freshmart. You mentioned another name. I need to find this out before I go into this Adrian Broner rant, because that's really going to bug me. As I am looking it up. Oh, okay. He's not the Knockout CP Freshmart. I still don't think I've ever heard of this guy, to be honest, Gary. Yeah, I've looked at his record. Yeah, I've never heard of this guy. That's not the undefeated Knockout CP Freshmart that is at 1-0 at minimum weight. With Wenhang, Manothan, and that sort of division, different CP Freshmart. Anyways, digressing. Broner being arrested, it is what it is. I think if you're really hoping that Broner can turn it around and all of a sudden is a different person, you can be bought and sold on every single promo that you see, probably, and that's fine. You're just that fan that can be easily sucked into the fight, into the narratives, and it's great to live in that world. I just don't. And I just am fully aware that this is just going to be Adrian Broner for the rest of his career. And that's why I and many others are picking Manny Pacquiao to beat him. Let's be honest. Moving on from that, a fight that I'm actually really intrigued by. Erickson Lubin versus Ishe Smith in the works. And from all interviews that I've seen from Kevin Cunningham, others, it's all but like set in stone. So anyways, it's just interesting. When I first heard this, I have a good friend named Jay from Orlando, who obviously from Orlando, so he's a big Lubin fan. And I instantly sent him the link and said, "Oh, he's gonna get beat up by Ishe Smith. They're cashing him out." And obviously, I've since walked that back a little bit, just because it's a good troll for my buddy. But this is a tough fight for Lubin. Lubin still, in my opinion, hasn't really shown us that he is quote-unquote back or that he is there with the elite. Ishe Smith has only just recently lost to very close fights with Julian Williams and Tony Harrison. Ishe Smith is just up there with that top 15 fringe, and Lubin is not. Lubin still has not shown us anywhere where he's now a top 10 contender, so to speak. Ishe Smith is the perfect gatekeeper for that. If Lubin beats Ishe Smith, we know he belongs there. We know that the Charlo fight, may have been not a fluke, but it may not be repeated in a rematch or may not be repeated going forward, obviously. However, this is definitely a fight where if he loses, we know where Lubin's at and where he stands. And it's not a great standing, let's be honest. I see PBC not really putting a lot of energy into Lubin if he loses to Ishe Smith. Let's just be honest. And plus Ishe is just a tough customer. He's a guy that A, can box well, and B, is durable. Can Lubin knock him out? Can Lubin outbox him? Those are questionable sort of statements to make if you were to say, yes, he can. And there's an argument to be had there. But digressing from that, I see Gary has called in. I think
I want smoke.
I think he wants the smoke. And I don't know what about. But it's Gary in Dallas. Gary, what's up?
Hang on. I was on speaker. I didn't know to be so quick. What's going on, Matty?
Nothing much, man. How was your Christmas?
I was good. How about you?
Good. Got some new equipment for the studio, so hopefully we get Skype callers very soon. That'd be good.
That'd be good. Yeah. All right. A couple of things. So there's two guys named CT Freshmart.
Yes.
One guy is the one they also call Little Pacquiao. I guess they're both Thai fighters. I think that's the one that you're talking about.
Yes.
But there's another guy named CT Freshmart too. That's the guy that's fighting on New Year's Eve. There's two guys with the same name. I'm assuming both from Thailand. But I'm pretty sure the one that you've heard of, you probably heard of both of them. But the one that you've heard of, the undefeated one, is the one that's fighting on New Year's Eve in Japan.
No. The knockout CP Freshmart is a champion at minimum weight. So I think that's 105 pounds.
Little Pacquiao.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. The one that is fighting, because you're right, he is named something CP Freshmart. That is his other alias, this Thai fighter that's fighting. I think it was Inoue's younger brother. I haven't heard of him. If I have and I have seen him fight, I can't remember it to save my life. I was looking through his resume.
Okay.
I don't see anything that really sticks out to me as like, yep, I've seen that.
So those fights are Sunday, and Shiro is fighting on that card. That's the main event.
Ooh, hold on. Let me make sure that's the same card. Yes, the one with Inoue's younger brother is the card with Kenshiro and Masayuki Iota, who just beat Christopher Diaz on ESPN Plus. So this card's on ESPN Plus.
And that's on Sunday.
Yes.
In Japan.
Yes.
Okay. And then the other card is in Macau, in China. That's on Monday. Is that on ESPN Plus too, or is that?
No. That is not on ESPN. That is not on anywhere at this point.
At this point, okay. That sucks. Because that was the fight that I was into. Who do you like in that fight?
The Nietes and Ioka fight?
Yeah.
I like Nietes. I think he should win it. But it's close. Like that one should be. That one will remind people of like Orlando Salido versus Takeshi Miura. Like it's going to remind a lot of people of that fight, in my opinion.
All right. So you think there's still a lot left in the tank for Nietes?
There's definitely enough left in the tank for him to win this fight. Absolutely.
Okay. Even though Since this thing he's 100 years old, the last time before I looked him up, when he fought Flick Day, he's only a couple months older than me, so I don't want to call him 100 years old. But, you still, okay. Did you think he won the Flick Day fight?
I remember we were talking about that one, Gary. I think we were talking about that one way back in the day when that happened. I don't know. That was a tough fight to score. I only watched it like one time, to be honest, and I thought Pilate won it off that, but it was close. It was close, and I think Ashton Pilate is a great fighter too.
No, I think Floyd is an excellent fighter.
Yeah.
But I swear for Floyd, but it could have went either way. It was one of those fights that what did you like better? Did you like Floyd's output, or did you like Nietes' precision scoring? I just thought he gave away too many rounds. Nietes by not doing anything. Yeah, I don't think Nietes should. I don't know if he can make 112 anymore. But I don't think this is. He's too small for the rest of the guys at that weight class. I know it seems weird because it's only a 3-pound difference, but coming up in age and coming up in size, there's just too much young firepower at this division. There's too much firepower because all of his trials and everything like that was all at 112. The Polinsky fight, if I'm correct, that was his first fight ever at 115, right?
I want to say you're right. I can look that up really fast.
I know that's where the names are, so that's where the money is.
Yes,
so
it is.
That's where he wants to go. It just seems like that's going to not be the best move for him.
I agree.
And then in the main event fight, the Ito fight against Chuprakov. Why do I know that name? Evgeny Chuprakov. Why do I know that name? He's a 130 pounder. Who is he for?
Hold on. Let me look it up for you. No one you would know. It's probably been on a card you've seen. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're taking all the A sides, I guess.
Yeah. Though I do think I think the main event obviously of the card we don't see, the Nietes and Ioka fight, that's 50-50. Like I have no issue with anyone. You probably saw him on the Povetkin and Christian Hammer card. He was on that one. Maybe some other ones. But yeah, that's about it.
Okay, did you watch Ken Shiro's last fight?
Yes, against Milan Milando.
I guess it was back August, September.
Yeah, it was summertime.
That was a great fight, and because they're 112 pounds or whatever, 115 pounds, no one ever sees these fights. But a fight at the smaller weight classes, to me, are the most entertaining. There's no holding. They throw up 100 punches. They're defensively responsible still. And, you know what I'm saying? They're nonstop action. I don't know. I guess because it's not the Americans really typically in those weight classes, usually, that it doesn't have the selling power in the U.S. But, I mean, why don't you think these fights catch on at all in the U.S.?
Well, I think it's a combination of factors, Gary. I think obviously it's a very like Neanderthal concept of, oh, these guys are very small, like I could beat them up. Like the average man that is 5'9", 5'10", 150, 160 pounds, they look at these 5'2", 5'1", 112-pound guys and say, man, I could kick their ass in the bar. Like I think that's a prevailing thought, to be honest. On top of that, you said it perfectly. They are basically not a lot of the U.S. fighters in these weight classes. So that means these cards are not in the U.S. They're not really available in the U.S. market for most of them. On top of that, even if they were to be offered in the U.S. market, they would be at weird times, which most people will not be watching. It's just a market that's not engineered for us. And remember, like it's okay. Like it's okay to have markets that aren't meant for us. Inoue can still pull up 15, 20 million viewers in Japan, like it's nothing. Maeda can do that off a loss, like it's nothing. So there's still a lot of money to be made if you're at the very top of these divisions. If you're in certain markets, if you're in Japan, if you're headlining, just the center of the lower weight class world is not in the U.S. and I don't think it ever will be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll ever be like heavyweight boxing was, but
yeah.
Have you ever watched a fight at 112 or 115 pounds between two elite fighters and said, "Oh, that fight was done"? You know, I can't think of any off the top of my head, at least in recent memory, where it's like go from 112 to 118 and say, "Oh, that fight was a bust. That fight was no good." Right? They're all entertaining, so it's like I don't know. Maybe it's only going to be for hardcores, right? I mean, you might not ever get the casual, but it's just like. Maybe try it. These fights, maybe try to put these fights out in front of a bigger U.S. audience because they never disappoint.
I mean, there's obviously like fights that do disappoint. Like the Zolan Tete fight versus Alain, like his last fight in the World Boxing Super Series, that was a shitty fight. So there's not like there's not bad fights. There are boring fights. Like there 100% are. I definitely can guarantee you we can go back and like Carlos Cuadras' like record and point out bad fights that he had that were boring. He also had great ones. He also had great ones with a guy like Roman Gonzalez, but Cuadras also put on stinkers. So it's not that there aren't boring fights in those lower weight classes. I think that's not really a factor in it. I think people have a hard time connecting with things or people that are not like them. So a bunch of fighters that don't speak English that are super small compared to them, they can't connect with that.
There's probably a lot to that. That's probably mostly pretty true.
And look, just for a very, very casual, loose comparison here we can use, look at the Avenger universe, right? All the movies in the Marvel universe. Which one has sold the least? Ant-Man. Let's just be honest here.
Although Spider-Man has probably sold the most, and he's the most whack superhero.
But Spider-Man's also the most relatable. Why? Because he's average. He's 5'9", he's 145 pounds, 155 pounds, and he's from New York, and he's a white dude that speaks English. Like, come on here, man. Look at.
He's a pizza delivery boy, like a pizza delivery boy, lame superhero.
But that's connected. But people can connect with that.
Is Batman a superhero?
Batman's, of course, a superhero. Like, I don't know. Yes.
What's his superpower?
Being a billionaire.
So if you don't have a superpower, then by definition you aren't a superhero. Batman doesn't have a superpower. Having a cool car does not make you a superhero. Like I said to you, who would win in a fight? Bruce Lee or Batman? Who would you take?
Batman.
No way. No shot.
Yo, hold on, Gary. First off, we really have to get off of this because I have tons of things I need to discuss. But first off, I need to address that. Batman has been like a black belt in how many martial arts? Are you off your shit? Come on. Read your comics, man. Batman is a legit martial artist, more so probably than Bruce Lee, even though he's a fictional character. Yeah, I said it. Okay. On top of that, Bruce Lee doesn't have a fucking car with rockets in it. Doesn't have a fucking suit that can like block bullets and knives. Stop. Come on. Batman wins hands down.
There's no way. We'll get off that. We can have that conversation. I'm just telling you right now, Batman would have easy work. I mean, Bruce Lee would make easy work.
We can discuss that on the next Patreon show. Okay.
We'll get off that. Do you have time for Keith Thurman?
Yeah, I have some time for Keith Thurman. Why not?
Okay. Keith Thurman came out and said that 2018 is his get back year. 2019 is his get back year. and 2020 he'll fight Crawford and Spence. I feel like we heard that before.
We have.
Am I wrong?
No, we have.
I thought 2018 was his get back year.
Yes.
How much getting back do you think he did in 2018?
Well, 0. He didn't fight in 2018.
Huh.
So he still has to get back. I mean, it's not like he got back off of sitting on his couch, playing the flute, smoking weed. Come on.
Okay. I always want to. That's what he spent his get back year doing. We're sitting on a couch, getting fat, smoking weed. Like that's what he did.
That's my assumption. That's my assumption.
Okay. All right. Do you realize he's 30 years old now?
That seems realistic. Yeah, that seems.
27. He's 30.
Nah. Well, isn't Danny like 28, 29? And Thurman's been around.
They're all 30 now. Danny's 30. They're both 30.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean,
but they were a lot younger than that. Like he just turned 30, like maybe a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, but think about it. They've been around on TV for going on what, 6 years now, 7 years now.
I guess it's been that long.
Yeah. Think about it. Like if you really go back, like when Thurman was on HBO, like they've been fighting for almost near a decade now in front of us.
He really has wasted the entire time of his career having only fought twice in the last 4 years. I mean, so he's fought twice since Collazo, which seems like a lifetime ago. He's fought twice since then.
Just for reference, Gary, do you know what Mikey Garcia, his age is, off the rip?
Oh boy, huh? He's probably close to 32, right?
I'll look it up.
Probably 30, 31.
Because I'll look up right now just for a comparison. Obviously, even though Mikey didn't have his due to injuries, I know you don't really credit those injuries that much. But I think there could be Mikey Garcia is 31. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know he's that old. Damn. Yeah, we've seen them forever. Mikey Garcia lost a lot of his years, obviously, of his prime. Andre Ward did as well. And they both went on, I think, to do very successful things afterwards. And Mike Garcia could go on to even do more and more. I think Thurman, even with the loss of those prime years, so to speak, he's still only 30, if that makes sense. Like he still has another good 5 years in him until we really see that athletic drop-off that we know about, that we know it will come to most fighters. So I'm not too concerned about it.
If he's only going to take a tune-up fight this year, then now he's 31 coming back. You know what I'm saying? If this is just a year.
Well, yeah, that's a big if.
Right.
That's a big if.
So let's say he fights twice this year, which I don't even believe, but I'll go out on that. He fights Josecito Lopez, and then in the second half of the year, he fights, I don't know, whoever his mandatory is, right? Because at some point, it doesn't make you take a mandatory, right? You would think it's been years.
I mean, I guess. It's the WBA, man. Who knows with them?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't even know who that mandatory would be. But then now he's 31 in 2020. I don't know. It's just it's really been unimpressive with him. I mean, for a guy that had all the hype, all the he's like the next great young fighter. He's done nothing with it. Nothing at all. Right? Like he's got the WBA belt. But I'm gonna call him a paper champion. And then you're gonna give me pushback. Who did he beat for that belt?
Well, I mean, Gary, if you really want to make that argument, we can say everyone at welterweight's a paper champion, except for maybe Terrence Crawford. Like that.
Terrence Crawford beat Horn, who beat Pacquiao.
Yeah, that.
Brooke. I mean, Spence beat Brooke.
Who beat Porter?
I mean, those guys won their title.
No. Whoa. Let's think about it here. Spence beat Brooke, who just lost to Triple G. So technically, Triple G had the lineal IBF belt. If you really want to, be, specific and technical. And digressing from that, he beat Porter. Who did Porter beat for that belt? Paulie.
Porter for the belt, did he?
Yes, that's how Brooke got the belt.
Porter challenged for his belt.
No.
I think.
No. Brooke beat Porter at the Forum in Inglewood, in Carson, California, and he won the belt off of Sean Porter. Yes. I think Sean Porter won off of Paulie.
No, Porter won. Porter won his belt from Devin Alexander.
Oh, okay.
Some lineage. I'm not saying that's a legitimate, lineal, but there's some lineage, right? Like Alexander was a champion, a legitimate IBF champ at least, and he lost to Porter, and Porter lost to Brooke, and so on. So Brooke got the regular belt, and that's why Mayweather retired, and they gave him the world title, and then that's where he is now. And the WBC, he refused to defend and gave it up. So it's like he's kind of a paper champion because he never beat anyone to be the world champion. He just got made that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's not a real world champion. He's a paper champion.
But he then went on to beat people that were world champions. You don't think you don't give him Danny as a legit world champion? Like Danny doesn't solidify Keith Thurman as a actual champion in your mind?
Okay.
Or was it because he was elevated and given that vacant shot because Mayweather retired, or was it Meritus champion? Therefore, Danny's a paper champion too.
Danny Garcia was given that. Danny Garcia had to be who for that belt? Robert Guerrero.
Yes. I think that was the vacant title shot.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, yes, he beat Danny Garcia. It's a good win. But you can say that Danny Garcia wasn't really a world champion either because he only had to beat Robert Guerrero to get that belt.
Okay. So, what about the Sean Porter win? Even though Sean Porter wasn't a champion at the time, he was at least a former champion, and you give Brooke all the credit in the world for beating Sean Porter.
Have I ever said anything bad about Keith Thurman in the ring?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, I've never questioned Keith Thurman's skill set. Actually, really like.
You're questioning him being elite though right now. You are. You know that, right?
No, I'm just questioning him having a claim to a world title is all, right? So he's fought twice in 3 years, and he gave up the WBC because he didn't defend it. He didn't want to defend it, and the WBA he never really won. He was elevated to it. So it's kind of like, should we really talk about him as if he's a world champion?
Yes.
If they're not going to take it from you, if they gave it to you and they're never going to take it from you for not defending it, how are you really a champion? It's kind of like in name only.
Okay. So okay. Is AJ a paper champion?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, he's a paper champion. 100% he's a paper champion.
Deontay Wilder.
Deontay
Wilder's a paper champion.
Oh, I haven't considered that.
Because he did fight for a vacant belt.
Heavyweight champion. Was it a vacant belt? It wasn't. The main survey had one. Didn't Severn win that as a vacant belt against Areola or something?
So he beat a paper champion. Therefore, he is better than a paper champion. I just want to understand where your criteria is for what is a paper champion.
AJ's a paper champion, and I like AJ too. I'm not knocking AJ, but he didn't win any of those belts. He didn't win any of them, but he didn't beat Fury. Fury was the champion, and they took it from Fury.
So hold on. So just so I understand your argument, AJ beating Joseph Parker, who won his belt off of a vacant title shot, I think against Andy Ruiz, is a paper champion. Even plus beating Charles Martin, who won his belt off a vacant championship, paper champion.
Right.
But Deontay Wilder, who beat somebody that won their championship off a vacant title shot and was paper champion, is not a paper champion. Again, I need to understand the criteria here.
Okay, there is more lineage when you talk about the heavyweight champion. Because the heavyweight champion is never going to vacate his belt and move up to another weight class. That's never going to happen.
But it literally, but it did happen with AJ and Wilder. They didn't move up, but they vacated. Tyson Fury vacated all of his belts. Vitaly Klitschko retired, so that belt was vacated. All the belts were vacated at one point. But one champion in your mind is not a paper champion, and one isn't. And that seems
No, I didn't say he was a paper champion. I had never considered it, but now that you're pressing me on the issue, maybe Wilder is a paper champion, right?
well. Again, no, Gary. I want to make it very clear that I'm not saying AJ Wilder, Keith Thurman are paper champions. You are, and just for the people listening, I just want them to understand what's being said here. And what my argument is. My argument is really that you could make a ton of arguments how people are paper champions. How the lineal title really falls apart after certain periods and certain eras. And how really, if you really want to be technical, almost every single champion nowadays is a quote-unquote paper champion for using your criteria, Gary. And really, my point is, the belt does not make the fighter makes the belt. Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua are two of the top best heavyweights in the world. That's what makes them legit champions. Keith Thurman's obviously one of the best welterweights in the world. That's what makes him a legit champion. Regardless of paper champion or not.
Yeah, no, what you're saying is 100% accurate, but there is a difference. When you say that the heavyweight champion of the world, there's usually lineage to that, at least the heavyweight title, right? Like, the heavyweight title has always been held in a different regard because it doesn't typically ever get vacated. I mean, I know it did, but there's always been the man who beat the man, and that last man was Tyson Fury. No one's beaten him, so you're right. Am I being? Is there like a double?
But Gary, you know how like Vladimir Klitschko being the man is questionable because they never beat Lennox Lewis, Vitaly, or Vladimir. Yeah. They bestowed upon Vladimir that vacant lineal belt when he fought Shagayev of all people. Ruslan Shagayev. Are we fucking being honest here? Really? Like, come on.
Division was not a great before Wilder and Joshua. 10 years span. The heavyweight division was not in good shape. I don't know that he was like the next best heavyweight out there, Shagayev, but the heavyweight division was not in good shape for a 10-year span.
Yes.
It was pretty weak. But yeah, my whole point was screw Keith Thurman. Like, screw Keith Thurman. That was like my whole point. Was Keith Thurman got elevated to this belt, and he has other one stripped for not defending it. Why do we like this guy? Why is he still relevant?
Why do people like Tyson Fury? Why do people like AJ? Why do people like Wilder? Like on it, like we could like. Why do people like Mikey Garcia? like the same detractions you have for Keith Thurman, we could pinpoint them for other fighters that are loved, that are liked.
People like Tyson Fury because he jumped in the ring with Deontay Wilder when no one else wanted to. That's why people like Tyson Fury.
Come on. People were liking Tyson way before the Wilder fight. His whole comeback run, people were loving him. He was beloved by that. Come on. When he beat Vladimir, he was beloved. Come on.
I thought you meant after he quit for 2 years. If Keith Thurman said, I'm going to fight Terrence Crawford, I'm going to fight Errol Spence, make the fight happen, I don't care. Make it happen. I'm going to sign a contract. They think they're the best. No one's beating me. I'm fighting those guys. Make it happen. Just make it happen. I would like Keith Thurman. But he doesn't do that. He takes 2 years off and then says 2008 he's my get back year. I'm just kidding. 2009 he's my get back year. Then in 2020 I'll fight Crawford and Spence. Do you really think he's going to fight Crawford and Spence in 2020?
How's that any different than Tyson Fury coming in and saying, I want a few fights before I fight AJ and Wilder? What's the difference?
Because he actually fought Wilder. When Thurman actually
But hold on. Then why why are you so angry right now? Wait a year. Wait for him to get his 2 comeback fights.
I just did. I just waited a year.
But he didn't have a comeback fight. Gary, you can say, oh, semantically he said comeback year was this year, and now it's another year of comeback year, but he didn't fight this year, Gary. Tyson Fury had 2 comeback fights and then fought Wilder. Hold on, Gary, let me talk. So now you're being upset with Keith Thurman not fighting Spence or Crawford until he has a couple comeback fights. But yet, Tyson Fury, that's okay? What your criteria seems like there's inconsistency here with how it's being implemented.
I didn't say it was okay when Fury did it. I didn't say it was okay for.
Was it not? So was it not? So was it not okay? Was it not okay for Fury to have 2 comeback fights? Was he supposed to fight Wilder or AJ immediately in your mind? Yes or no?
Well,
no. Yes or no, Gary? Yes, Gary. Yes or no? I don't care about what he said, Gary. In your mind, Gary. In your mind, should Tyson Fury have fought AJ or Wilder immediately in his comeback? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, then why do you assume and expect Thurman to do that?
Okay, can I answer that question? Because that's like the bigger question. Because Keith Thurman said 2018 was the get back year.
But he didn't fight, Gary. You didn't fight, Gary. How is that not? But okay, so Gary, so now in your logic, in your argument, you're saying because he had 12 months, therefore, without fighting, therefore he has to fight Spence or Crawford next. That was his get back year, right? Regardless of fighting, yes or no? Is that your argument?
Well, no, that's his argument. Those are his words.
But he didn't fight, Gary. His whole point about get back, Gary, we have to move on because that's such a shitty fucking argument, and you know it. You know it, Gary. That is such a trash fucking argument. God. Gary, love you, dog, but that was atrocious what you just said right there. Your logical pretzel that you just spewed out there. That was utter bullshit. And you know it. Fuck. And you still never answer the question. Your argument was, that's what he said. Yeah. He said get back years. He's going to have comeback fights. He never had those comeback fights. Fuck. And now you should fight Spence Crawford. Get the fuck out of here. It's ridiculous. Moving on. Gary, you seriously need to check. You need to... I don't know why you hate Thurman so much. Like, you seriously have a problem with this dude. I don't know if he fucked your wife. I don't know. But you are very upset at Thurman for no reason. Jesse Magdaleno versus Christopher Diaz in the works. March 17th, New York. I really like this fight. I gotta be honest. And Christopher Diaz moving down to 126. Jesse Magdaleno moving up to 126 and meeting in the middle. I think that's a fantastic matchup. Definitely 2 guys that are coming off losses. A risky matchup if you're top rank. But similar to a Lubin Ishe Smith, obviously different league promotion. A different network, but still 2 guys that fighting each other right now could sort of knock one out of being in headliners, in relevant fights, and that could be a bad business move long term, but for the fans, it's a great fight. Definitely cannot wait to see it. Transitioning more so into MMA, RIZIN FF 14, Mayweather versus Tenshin Nasukawa. God, I don't even know what to say about this shit. Who knows about this matchup? Like, it's a exhibition. There's no judges. Tenshin's out there saying that he feels like kicking Mayweather in the exhibition fight. It just seems weird. I still believe there is no official word on U.S. distribution. The rumor is still Fight TV, and that being an app for anyone that doesn't know that, Fight TV, you can download it on your phone. This seems like a card that if it's not on U.S. TV, that would just defeat the purpose, but who knows? Who knows? Definitely one that I wish it was on U.S. TV, because the Darian Caldwell fight alone versus Kyoguchi is a fantastic fight. The Bellator champion versus the RIZIN champion. I love when that happens in MMA. You know, cross-promoting fights just does not happen on a regular basis for MMA. I know for boxing fans that seems commonplace, but for MMA, it's just not. So that's just great to see. On top of that, Gabby Garcia also on the card, and a litany of other people like Darian Krushenk and others. Moving on from that, obviously, UFC 232, a card that has been marred in controversy for a while now, it seems. But obviously, I really don't think I've discussed it since it happened. But UFC 232 was supposed to be in Las Vegas and got moved to Los Angeles at the Forum on 6-day notice. And all due to a 18-month-old sample of John Jones now being tested positive for Turinabol. And it looks like John Jones will also now have to be in Nevada to be licensed by California. And this just has been a complete clusterfuck, to be honest. And I don't know really where to fall when it comes to this story. I think there needs to be more investigative work done on it. It just seems fishy. It does. Because not really about this individual test, but if you look at it from a whole, it shows inconsistencies. Frank Mir, a UFC heavyweight, long time, now he's with Bellator, he tested positive for the same substance around the same range. And he went through the process of saying, hey, I didn't take it, I think it's a supplement, went through all the supplements, none of them tested positive, said, hey, look, is there any basically any studies or research, yes, you saw to this, that says that this could be from substance I took a long time ago. And they said no. And now their excuse is yes. Excuse is probably a bad word, but now their reasoning for why John Jones is fine per USADA or per Jeff Nowinski, who works for the UFC through USADA in some capacity, has come out and said, well, it's a pulsing effect with this substance, and that's why it's now testing positive 18 months later. How I would be okay with that argument if it was consistent. It's not. I don't know if John Jones' case is right or Frank Mir's case is right. I don't know if none of them are right. There just seems to be a lot of misinformation right now, either given to us or within their own agency with USADA and PD regulation as a whole. I've talked about this a lot. Dutch scientists have been doing a great study where they've been testing the 23 banned categories within the WADA code, and only 4 of them, or I think 5 of them, have any concrete evidence that they are performance enhancing. So the shift in science and its implementation has been constant and fluid. And on top of that, it's obviously been inconsistent to the detriment of fighters and to the consumers. The amount of people that have been traveling to the U.S. or to Vegas now have to cancel hotels, get a flight or a rental car or a bus over to Los Angeles, have to buy another ticket. It's been a complete mess. And was it worth it? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be worth it. That's definitely something that I think we're going to need to talk about and discuss maybe in a week or so, or maybe 2 weeks when we have more information about it, how the card transpires. But it just seems like a lot of work to just upset a lot of fighters that aren't John Jones and a lot of fans that were paying you to be there. And that just seems weird. Just as a person that's always worried about the consumer and what's best for the consumer, this wasn't it. It just made a little sense to me. Now to the fight card itself, obviously John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson 2, co-main event, Chris Cyborg versus Amanda Nunes, champion versus champion fight there, basically to determine, if not the best female MMA fighter of all time, the best female fighter of all time across all combat sports. Two fights that I alone am hyped for. Like I could have paid all the money for pay-per-view for just those two fights, let alone the rest of the card, which, let me just run down the bout order. Carlos Condit versus Michael Chiesa, Ariel Latifi versus Corey Anderson, Chad Mendez versus Alexander Volkanovski. Oh, god damn, that fight's awesome. Andre Arlovsky versus Walt Harris, Kat Zingano versus Megan Anderson, Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Peter Yan, BJ Penn versus Ryan Hall, Curtis Melender versus Ciara Barzada, Uriah Hall in the card. The card is top and bottom a fantastic card, so I have to give them that. This is one of the best cards of the year across combat sports, regardless of the John Jones PED test and sort of tabling that and putting it to the side. This card's fantastic. Those two co-main events are amazing, and the rest of the card itself is stacked. So I'm excited to see it. It is, I want to say, official. I've gotten word that I am credentialed from Shiro.com to be at the fight. So your boy is going to be there with good friend of the show, Anthony Walker, and we're going to be putting out a lot of content for Shiro.com on their YouTube channel. So make sure you guys check out for that one. But I guess from that, obviously, let's break down the card itself and those two fights at the top, especially John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson 2. I wish this fight would have happened with both guys more active, closer to their prime, so to speak. And we aren't getting that. Gustafsson hasn't fought all of 2018 and most of 2017, and just jumping right into this rematch with John Jones for the belt, so to speak. I don't know if Daniel Cormier is champ or not, or if this is an interim belt. It just says title shot and my light heavyweight championship. Who knows? With the UFC, but John Jones, regardless of his own layoff due to obviously his PD scandal, should win this one like easily. He's a guy that definitely, in my opinion, has gotten better with the time since their first fight. While Alexander Gustafsson has been nothing but inconsistent with injuries specifically. And on top of that, has looked inconsistent. Losses against Daniel Cormier, Anthony Rumble Johnson, even the great win against Glover Teixeira doesn't really, erase, the time spent that we've seen Gustafsson look less than that night. It seemed like that first fight took more out of Gustafsson than did John Jones. And in a rematch, John Jones is still the better grappler. I think his striking has only improved, so that skill gap on the feet is far less than it was in the first fight. John Jones should win this one. I'm saying third or fourth round submission. I expect him to hurt Gustafsson, take him down, wrap up some sort of Kimura, armbar, triangle, something. Maybe an arm triangle choke. He should win this one. I think he should win it pretty easily. I think the first round is going to be very competitive and close, but after that, John Jones is going to be dialed in and figured out everything he needs in terms of this rematch and what he needs to do. Now, in the co-main event, I've been very conflicted about this fight. I've been back and forth about who to pick. I'm a huge Amanda Nunes fan. I'm a huge fan of Chris Cyborg. I think on the feet, it should be even and competitive. Even though Amanda Nunes is a smaller fighter than Cyborg, I think in the grappling department, Cyborg really shouldn't be able to manhandle her as much as I think others are thinking. And it's all about, can Cyborg stay away from that straight shot from Amanda Nunes, which is deadly. Can she slip off that center line, get on the inside, rough her up, get in the clinch, make it a rough fight for Amanda Nunes, not give her the space that Amanda needs with the jab and that power hand cross. I think Cyborg should win this one. That's what my head's sort of leaning. My heart's leaning Amanda Nunes, but my head's saying Chris Cyborg should win this one. She showed us that she could evade a lot of offensive output from a boxer like Holly Holm and be absolutely efficient and deadly with her combinations. So I think Chris Cyborg should win this one. I think she should be able to get on the inside, and she should be able to rough up Amanda Nunes when she wants. And it should be a fun, competitive fight, but I'm thinking Cyborg beats her up really bad by rounds 4 or 5 and gets a late finish with the Nunes not being able to just take the punishment, and it'd be an all-out war at the very top of the women's division, women's fighting overall. Mario Masaki in the chat saying, I feel like Amanda's punches have more snap behind them. Cyborg has more of a thudding punch. I'm not saying you're wrong with that. I also think that even if, let's say, we were 100% right about it, Mario, I don't know if that's going to be the determining factor necessarily. You know, can Amanda really, if Amanda can keep Cyborg at the bay with her jab and really keep it at range with that, Amanda should be able to really get her offensive going, get into rhythm, and start landing that power shot. And if she doesn't, if she can't land that jab, if Cyborg is slipping off the line and just rolling with it quite well, I think Cyborg should be able to get on the inside and get into her range and beat her up, in my honest opinion. The rest of the card, I'm not going to really break down that much. Condit, Chiesa, close fight, competitive, can't wait to see it. And the rest of the card itself, fantastic. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today. Smash that like button, share the show, subscribe. Remember, go to patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio, because we have all of the polls up, all of the voting line open for a award show, which will be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. So Fight of the Year, KO of the Year, Story of the Year, etc. Go vote. Patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. I am Matt, the Hipster Hunter. You can find me at Matt Hunter, MCR, all platforms. And have a great day. Peace.